Hi there, good noon, and I welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep channel dedicated to your success as a CAT aspirant. My name is Vikrant. I am your personal coach for all things related to English and communication skills and of course even the psychological aspects of the preparation. So if you have any questions throughout this session, please use the chat window down below rather liberally. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, I urge you to subscribe to it. You have approximately 15 months, and in these 15 months, you and I can achieve a lot by working together. And in this session today, we'll talk about how we can go ahead and ace VARC in CAT 2024. So if you are a 23 aspirant, you may find this a little underwhelming, but there is something in it for you. We do have a bit of a practice stacked towards the second half, but otherwise the pace that we plan to work at is going to be more suitable for CAT 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this. But then I have a question that I wanted to ask. I conducted a session on 11th of September. In that session, we went ahead and talked about a CAT 2024 plan for beginners that talked about all the three sections, including VARC, of course. And a week prior to that, I had actually conducted a detailed session on CAT VARC, where we talked about the syllabus and the approach in which, or the approach using which you can at least start your preparation. Right? So those two sessions are sessions that I'd highly recommend that you watch if you need additional clarity. I will work with the assumption that you've gone through those sessions and you have those details. However, if I say something that does not make sense to you, because perhaps it goes ahead and refers to whatever was covered in those sessions, don't hesitate and ask me the right question. So considering that we are talking about CAT VARC and the session is called Ace the CAT VARC, what do you really mean by acing the CAT VARC? What do you think? So here is the VARC section. So when I talk about VARC in the CAT, here is the trend. So in CAT 2018, we had 34 questions, 2019, 34, 2020 was the pandemic affected exam. So the number went down from 34 to 26. Of course, the overall number of questions, the duration, all of those things fell down. But then in 21 and 22, we again had 24 questions apiece. So in all likelihood, we expect 23 to mimic this pattern, and hopefully 24 will also turn out to be no different. So what do you think? If you want to ace VARC, what does it take? How would you know that you have managed to ace the section? So there has to be some sort of definition, right? Some parameters, some criteria. On the basis of this, we can say that, okay, this is what acing the section means. So my criterion for acing is pretty straightforward. I want you to get at least a 99 percentile in this particular section. So if you get a 99 percentile plus, that basically puts you in the top 1% of all the aspirants who are writing the CAT for that particular year, and that is as good as it gets. So from here, one very natural, normal, obvious question would be, hey, how do I get 99 percentile? I mean, that's a rank, but what is in my hand is marks. I can prepare and start getting more and more questions right. Those more and more questions right should translate into more marks for me. So how many marks are required to be in the top 1%? So here is a piece of information that will connect marks with the relevant percentiles for the last few years. So there you go, last 5 years. So what say you? So I think the most relevant part for you is CAT 21 and CAT 22, and this right here is your 99 percentile. So let's just bring this particular area into focus with little more clarity. So both of these years gave us how many questions? 24. Every question carried 3 marks. So we are talking about 72 marks, right? So out of these 72 marks, you were supposed to get in 22, 38.5, which basically means that, can I say 13 questions net correct? Whereas 21, the exam was relatively easier, so that number happened to be 45. So that is 15 questions net correct. So basically, can I say that we need to get 13 to 15 questions net correct? That's all that is needed. Or in other words, if you can attempt around 18 to 19 questions with roughly put 80% accuracy, you are right there. You got it. So over the course of next 15 months, you need to take yourself to that level. And when I say that level, see, if I were to give you the English section today, I am very confident that you will be able to attempt almost 8 to 10 questions without a doubt. And I once again believe that you already are in a position where you'd be getting 5-6 questions right today anyway. So you are already at 15 to 18 marks, or in other words, you're already in the top 20%. So the goal is, from those 5-6 questions, how do we take it to 15 questions now? So 15 months, 10 extra questions right, and that requires effort, skills, knowledge, all those things that we've talked about 2 weeks ago. So make sure that you do refer to that session and start working along those lines. So now let's dig a little deeper. What all things get asked and how do we prepare? So I'll just give you a quick recap of that session in case you missed out on that. So know the syllabus. Thereafter, identify the skills and vast areas, because skills and vast areas, we need to go ahead and work on them every day. For the rest of the things, figure out the sequence in which you want to go ahead and attempt those, and after that, get going. So the syllabus, the skills, the sequence, all of this was given to you in the previous session so that you could start your preparation. But coming specifically to CAT VARC, what is it that gets asked? So when we say VARC in the CAT, it consists of 2 parts, as the name itself suggests: verbal ability and reading comprehension. So when we say reading comprehension, that's a significant part. Okay, so up to 67% of the section would typically be RC, and the rest of it is going to be your verbal ability. And if I put it down into numbers, then CAT 2020, the total number of questions were 76, out of which 26 were English questions. And then here is the breakup: 18 of those 26 were reading comprehension, and the remaining 8 for verbal ability. And do you notice that each one of these is a paragraph based question? When in 21 the total number of questions went down by 10 marks, the total number of English questions also went down a little. But there was only a minor change in the section, where instead of 18 reading comprehension questions, now we had 16 reading comprehension questions. The remaining distribution remained more or less the same. CAT 22 had the same breakup in RC and VA. So 16 questions of RC, 8 of VA, but then there was one tiny addition. Instead of paragraph odd one out, we had 2 questions from para completion. So questions are still paragraph based. It's just that the pattern, the way they asked that really went on to change. So in essence, if you want to excel at the CAT VARC, you need to essentially work on reading comprehension and 4 paragraph based questions. Of course, if CAT 23 brings in some surprise, we'd have you covered, and we definitely teach that to you. But then these are the 5 basic things that you need to start working on according to the plan that has already been shared with you. So now you know about CAT VARC, you know about the trend, you know about the kind of things that get asked. The only thing that is missing is you know the theory. Okay, so at a theoretical level now you know what all gets asked, but at a practical level you may not have much of an understanding. You may not know what exactly gets involved in a particular question. So let's fix that as well. Okay, so how about going through some questions together? So the very first question that I'm putting you through is a Parajumble question. So on the next slide, I will give you a question. That question will have 4 jumbled sentences. 4 sentences of a paragraph those sentences are jumbled. Your job is to discover the best possible way of arranging those 4 sentences to make that entire paragraph logical and coherent. And this is a question type which in the CAT has been a non-MCQ question. There are no options, so I won't give you any option. But I want you to go ahead, have a look at it and attempt these. So ready? So here you go. Here is the question on your screen, and you see this bar up top? That's a timer. I'm giving you a 10-second head start. After 10 seconds, I'll start the timer and the bar will start vanishing. Once you have that bar completely vanish on you, we'd go ahead and start discussing it. Share your answers with me in the chat box down below. Okay, so please start. Okay, the time is almost over. What's your take? What's your answer? And there you go. So you notice in logic, we get this particular question type or this particular question variety where we are asked to make some elements, some people sit in a particular order, in a particular sequence. So here you are supposed to sit the sentences in a particular sequence. So you're supposed to think of it as a puzzle. Now where it differs from those logic questions is that in those questions the examiner gives you the clues. They are listed out explicitly for you. Here we do have clues, but those clues are hidden within those sentences. So for example, you notice when King Midas asked Silenus what the best thing for man is, Silenus replied, so quote mark. I don't see another quote mark here. There is none here, but there is one here. This very clearly tells us that 2 and 4 must come together. Then in 3, you're talking about herein lies the essential contradiction. Where lies that contradiction? And then similarly, look at first. Walt Whitman not only embraces this existential incongruity, but also asserts that being contradictory is a positive, desirable virtue. So these are the various clues. So we've already established that 2 and 4 to go together. This 3, the contradiction is, it is better not to have been born at all. The next best thing for man would be to die quickly. So, I mean, to call that the best thing for a man. Somebody who is born, you're saying that, yeah, you should not have been born. And if you are born, die quickly. So that's a contradiction that is being talked about. And therefore, 3 should come after 2 and 4. After 2 and 4. And then The first can come immediately after 4, first can also come after 3. Which place should we prefer? If I put 2, 4, 1, 3, then the herein in 3 will not be able to refer to 2 and 4. But if I put it after 2 and 4, if I put 3 immediately after 2 and 4, I have a reference for herein, and I also have a reference for this existential incongruity, and therefore the best way of arranging it will be 2, 4, 3 and then 1. So we just treat it as a puzzle. Then Kaustubh, you asked this question yesterday as well, and I saw this later. Kaustubh has a question, says, is it a good approach to solve RC by writing the main points after reading each paragraph? No. I advise people to write them when they are working on improving their retention. So I advise them to do that at home. And even there I ask them to write as concisely as possible. But when you sit down and attempt an RC passage, you are supposed to do it, but mentally. You're not supposed to write it. See, the moment your pen touches paper, it is going to take longer. We don't have that kind of time. So you're supposed to go through this process. You're supposed to bring in that approach, yes, but you would also want to develop your mental ability in such a way that you're able to do it all in your mind without putting it down on a piece of paper. And start doing that. If you start doing it, eventually you will be able to hold all those key ideas in your mind rather easily. Okay, it's just about pushing yourself. It's just about training yourself the right way, and you'd have it here. So in that training initially, yes, you do that. Okay, so that's question number 1. This is called a Parajumble. Now let me take you through another question, which is going to be a paragraph odd one out. So what do we get in the odd one out? The examiner typically gives us 5 sentences. 4 of those 5 sentences belong to the same paragraph. 1 does not. So our job is to identify the sentence that does not belong to that paragraph and mark that sentence as our answer. Got it? So here is a paragraph for you on the screen. Can you identify the odd one out of these 5 sentences? I'll give you a 10-second head start and then the timer will start moving. Go ahead, give it a shot. Okay, so I hope you're thinking. Okay, time is coming to an end. Okay, so in these questions, what we typically do is that we read the sentences and we try to get a sense of, if we were to construct a paragraph out of these, what is the theme of the paragraph going to be? So let's see. First talks about all of us have encountered jealous people in our lives. Okay, second talks about energies of our space, determining our own energy. Third, our psyche or our intuition always gives us a warning signal against them. Okay, they could be a part of a friend circle or perhaps even one of our relatives. Fifth, but sometimes despite the fact that we may be aware of them in a social setup like ours, it becomes difficult to cut ties with them. So you notice 4 of these, beginning with first, are talking about jealous people. Okay, so if I were to arrange them, I'd say 1, 4, 3, 5 is a paragraph. But then second is suddenly talking about something completely different. It is talking about the relation between the space or the place that we live at and our own energy, whereas the other four are all related to jealous people in our lives and dealing with them and what makes it difficult to deal with them, right? And that is why our answer to this particular question should be sentence 2. So there you go. That's called a paragraph odd one out. So discover the theme, mark the answer, and then move on. And with that, how can we of course go ahead and miss out on reading comprehension? So considering that I'm doing it for the first time for CAT 24, let me tell you that I take you through a passage. On every slide there'll be a paragraph. Once you are done reading that paragraph, you let me know that you've gone through the paragraph. Okay. So we read it paragraph by paragraph, then I will take you over to the questions. You can use the seeker in your video to refer to the passage when it comes to answering the question. So ready? So let's begin. So here is your passage on the screen. Let's start. So once you've read it, let me know and I'll switch over and I'll take you over to the next slide. Kaustuv, best approach, read the passage for an overview and then go to the questions, answer the questions. But for each question type, there is an ideal approach. There are 20 different question types, so we have 20. We have those different approaches for each one of those questions when it comes to solving them. And all these things are covered in the sessions on YouTube, in our batches on our app. So you can perhaps refer to those. Ready for the next one? Here you go. Done reading it? See, I'm kind of waiting for your response to know whether I can shift over to the next slide or not. Otherwise, I'll anyway take you to the next one in 5 seconds. And here comes the next one. So this is the last slide. After this, we'll have questions. Okay, so here is your first question based on the passage. Ready? There you go. So what do you think should we choose as our answer? Karthik, notes are allowed as in can you carry notes or can you make notes? If you say carry notes, no, that's obviously not allowed. Can you make notes? Yes, they give you rough, they give you a scratch pad. You can use that to make your notes, do your rough work and all. Absolutely, yes. Okay, so let's check. What is the main argument? What was the first paragraph about? Let me take you back and then we'd check and then come back here. So the very first paragraph talks about the percentage of GDP that we devote to early childhood education, right? Second paragraph tells us where this data comes from, and I want to highlight a word. Okay. Next, there is a comparison of the Indian spend with the spending of other countries, and it also says that other countries are spending more, and that when we have a much higher population of children in that particular age group which is covered under ECE, right? Then it boils it down to the money that is spent on per person. There are these differences in states. Thereafter, the next paragraph talks about the fact that that a lot of children are actually missing out on it. And then what needs to be done? So started with a percentage, ending with a percentage. Now when I look at C, which was the first answer, D is the first answer that I got. We're saying only adequate funding for ECE by the government can save children. Save? We are talking about educating or saving? Are we talking about a medical issue? If you use educate children, I still understand. Save children is not even the theme of the passage. And the other problem here will be only. The author is saying government needs to do more to or needs to invest more in the education of young children, early education of the rather young children. But government needs to do more. Does that mean that that is the only way? That's again something that cannot be inferred on the basis of the passage. So D is ruled out. C says the average spend per child is a fourth of a desired level. How do we know it is a fourth of the desired level plus? Is that the main argument? So is that the core conclusion that, hey, fourth? So The author says at present it is at 0.1%. We need to increase it to 1.6%. Even this does not appear to be four times larger. It appears to be actually even larger. I think we can eliminate C. And between A and B, the purpose is not to tell us that some states are doing all right. The purpose is to tell us that, hey, we are not spending enough. And therefore, the best answer for you will be option B. So the options can be designed in such a way that they can at times mislead us. Be better. Okay, here is the next one. Go ahead, think of it, and then let me know. Okay, so what does this question require? First up, we need to understand what the question says. Assumption. So we need to be aware of what assumption is, and things like assumptions and inferences, etc. They are talked about in an area that is called critical reasoning. So if I look at it globally, internationally, GMAT gives you separate critical reasoning based questions. Even exams like XAT and MAT in India give you separate critical reasoning based questions. CAT used to have separate CR questions, but nowadays they have co-opted CR in RC. So at least 1/3 of your reading comprehension questions are actually dependent on your skills in this domain of critical reasoning. So an assumption is an unstated reason, an unstated support. A, as you can see, is stated, and because it is stated, we cannot mark it as an assumption. B, C and D are unstated, but which one of these three acts as a support for the sentence that is given to us here? So when you say, oh, this is what is needed to bring other 68% under, you are obviously assuming that we need to bring all the children under that coverage, and therefore when you choose B as your answer, you are absolutely spot on. That is indeed the assumption. And here is your next question based on the passage. Go ahead, give it a shot. Another one of those critical reasoning questions. Tanisha, isn't there a passage for this question? As in, there is a passage. This question is after a passage and you're supposed to refer to that passage and answer the question. Okay, so first up, what is the author's argument? The author's argument is that ECE funding should be increased substantially. Right? So let's look at A. The ECE scheme is vital for the intellectual growth and development of children. Now, if this is true, then it makes sense that we go ahead and increase the funding. So does it strengthen? Yes. Does it support? Yes. B. The ECE can supplant classroom instruction. What is supplant? Supplant basically means to replace. Early childhood education can replace classroom instruction. Hey, early childhood education is done through classrooms, right? So how is it connected to whether we need to increase the funding or not? Are we saying that we need to replace classrooms or something? So we can eliminate B. It's irrelevant. C, irrelevant. D, when you say D, universalization of EC services is financially unviable, this in fact tells us that hey, funding cannot be increased. So this goes on to weaken, and that is why our answer here should be option A. Yeah, Karthik, after the next question, let's take it up. So here is question number 6. Simple question. Which of the following factors about EC did the author target and criticize? So go ahead, share your answer with me for question number 6. And then we'll take up Karthik's question. Karthik, you can share the question in the interim. Drop in the question too. Okay, so a lot of us have picked up D. I also see a B. Let us go ahead and check. So, has the author targeted and criticized lack of quality education? We went through 5-6 paragraphs. None of them is talking about the fact that we're not delivering quality education. But inadequate funding, yes. Insufficient coverage, yes. Remember the last 2 paragraphs. Only 32% of the children are covered, the remaining are out. So yes, and therefore our answer should actually be D. Right? So D includes both B and C. So we'd automatically go ahead and pick that up, choose that and mark that as our answer. Okay, so that's about CAT preparation, the syllabus, the sort of percentile and marks that you need to target, along with a taste of what gets asked. So I hope each one of these things will inform your presence. If you enjoyed working with me, don't forget to give a like to the video. And here is something that I want you to read and imbibe carefully. So Karthik, what's your question? I have some doubts. That calculator is allowed in CAT exam. Okay. Oh, you had an entire question. So is calculator allowed? Yes. But you cannot carry your own calculator. You are provided an on-screen calculator in the exam, and it's actually a very basic calculator that allows you to perform the 4 basic mathematical operators. So you can use that for to add, subtract, divide and multiply. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so change is inevitable, growth is optional. Tanisha, how many questions will you cover today? 6. We've covered them today. And this is a session meant for CAT 24, which talked more about strategy, and we are gradually easing them into that world. If you're a 23 aspirants, I have taken many more sessions for you, and I will be taking many more sessions for you. So make sure that you stay tuned. Okay. And our program has produced amazing results over the past couple of years of our being here. So you can consider our very exhaustive batches. So we have started, although it says 23, we have actually started CAT 24 batches already. So in these batches, what all do you have? You have live sessions where you work with the faculty in real time. You also have more than 300 recorded lectures, and in fact the recordings of all the live classes also made available to you. Additionally, it says 75 plus mocks, but I know that they are going to be 80 plus mocks. Moreover, 10,000 practice questions, preparation of GD interviews included. You have access to the faculty member to ask your doubts, etc. Everything that you think of is covered. So you can experience it by unlocking your free trial. It gives you access to the program for 3 days and you can make up your mind. We're also organizing a scholarship test on 23rd of September. You can write that test and save a sweet up to 90% off on our tuition fees. And in case you are somebody who's targeting non-CAT exams, we're starting a crash course for NMAT this year. If you know somebody who's interested, let them know. So that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you guys in the next class. Don't forget to like the video before you go. But until I see you next, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch, keep working hard, okay? Keep working hard. Have a great day ahead. I'll see you soon. Yes, Tanisha, you can. Harpal, we've taken dedicated sessions on this on our channel. You can look at those.